Right now, joining us, Roza Calderon. She is running in California's 4th district, and unfortunately, the representative there is Tom McClintock.
Correct.
Pretty bad guy. Her website there to donate there is jdems.us/Roza. Okay, R-O-Z-A. So Roza, first, tell us your story. Where are you from? What are you up to?
So I was actually, I grew up in Northern California in this tiny town named Lincoln, and I went to this one high school where we have a fighting zebra. That's our mascot.
That's already funny. I love it.
Yeah. So initially, I, like many people, I joined the labor force right out of high school, and I worked for a construction company. But I also had to be really hard hit when the recession hit itself and try to reinvent myself, try to recover from everything that was happening. I went through some pretty rough patches right after I lost my job. I also lost my father, who was assassinated in El Salvador. And yes, and essentially they left my young brother, who's my half-brother sibling, for dead as well. And this was very devastating for me because we tried everything and anything to get a visa for my brother to come stay with us, and it just didn't budge. In 2016, so 9 years after all of that happened, my brother was actually able for the first time to come visit me in San Francisco, still on a visitor's visa. And my story doesn't start or end in Lincoln. It started in El Salvador. I was born in El Salvador. I am a refugee that came to the United States during the civil wars that were happening there. This was a place and a time where the press was silenced, very much like it's happening today here. And also it was the times where if you had any opposition to the government that was in place, you were targeted and there was attempts on your life, and that's what happened to my mother. So there was an assassination attempt on her life, and as a single parent, she decided that the only choice that she had to give us a future was to migrate to the US. So she crossed every border on foot, came to the US, asked for asylum, and that's how my sister and I followed about 6 months later. And everything, when we landed here, we built our base here in the Los Angeles area. We grew up in Huntington Park. Initially, I think I was telling my Lyft driver today that I actually grew up in the Rampart area right before we moved to Huntington Park, and this is right about the time when the LA riots were going on. My sister and I shared a bed in a closet. We saw the LA riots happen. Then my stepdad's place, office was burnt down, and they were out of a building. So this is the type of things that we lived through. We also knew that acceptance was extremely important because we were immigrants and we needed to find those commonalities with other marginalized groups. So my sister's 4th grade class, marched in the Pride Parade in Santa Monica off of Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood. And at the table, because of what we had experienced as very young children, we talked about what was happening worldwide. We talked about the USSR and when Gorbachev said to take that wall down. We talked about the countries in Central America recovering from the civil wars. And we also talked about South America and the war on drugs that they were facing and all the perils that the people were going through. So for me, it was imperative that I always remained active. So when, even this last election, I've been probably a volunteer for the last 8 years for the last 4 presidential elections, or 16 years now, sorry, for the last presidential elections. And this time, there was something very different. As much as I would have wanted a Democratic House, my daughter and I had planned a trip to DC to celebrate the time that we had our first female president-elect. But when we arrived, we still went to our trip, and it was President Trump that was the elect. And it was devastating. And I remember getting out of the plane and my daughter asked me, "Mom, what are we gonna do?" And as a single parent myself, it was heartbreaking that I couldn't give her an honest and secure answer for our future. And so I looked at her and I said, "We are gonna go to the monument, and from there, we're going straight to Trump Tower," and that's what we did. We marched through the entire DC area to protest against the president-elect. When we came back, we made sure that we remained active. The protest that was outside of Tom McClintock's office in February 4th that really was given credit to as the beginning of the resistance recess, where this guy called us anarchists and radicals and took off running, and that made national headlines. That was a protest that was led by me. And this is right when the indivisible movement really started, taking off. And of course, I have walked in the shoes of a minority woman who was barely given a chance sometimes. And I want to make sure that the opportunities that I did have, because of the hard work that my mom and the risks that she took and the risks that I've taken, are not so far away and so far removed from my daughter and future generations. So what I wanted to do is make sure that McClintock is kicked out of office. He's a climate science denier. He also, votes almost 99% of the time with Trump. And he celebrates that Trump is very outspokenly racist and prejudiced. And he even told one of our dreamers during a town hall to go back to her country and migrate the right way when she asked him and pled for his help. And so those are the type of things that just pushed me over the edge. And I decided to run against Tom McClintock. I'm a geoscientist, so I understand the science. We have one of the most beautiful districts in California. It encompasses Lake Tahoe, the majestic sequoias, Kings Canyon, Yosemite, and has like 4 counties that have become like go-to destinations because of how beautiful it is. And it's enormous. So it comes down all the way through the Central Valley, and we have a lot of the farm workers who are going through a lot of things right now because there's a shortage of labor, because people are scared. And those are the reasons I'm running. I went to a consulate meeting from El Salvador was hosting to help people file for TPS and to help them file for citizenship or residency. But these people are scared. And what I'm running for is the working class. What I'm running for is to give people security so that they know that they're not alone, so that they know that there is something out there that they can get out and vote for. I want to get rid of this voter apathy. And the only way we're really going to do that is by getting money out of politics.
All right, I love it. So what made you want to get into politics in the first place? Was it that your mom, obviously incredibly brave. I did not know that about the assassination attempt on her life. Was that the inspiration? Why not just stay a geoscientist? And what drove you to actually make this decision?
Oh, I miss my job because we were out there in nature geotagging trees, but at the same time, there is only so much that I can do as an activist. So I've been fairly active for a really long time. Since I was a child, that's what my mom taught us to do. And through the movements of Occupy, and even now with the Indivisible movement, there's only so much. You hit a wall as an activist. And the only way that I can truly affect change at the legislative level is to run for Congress. And this race in particular, for me, this chair is extremely important because it represents not just District 4, not just California, but it creates a vote and a voice for the nation. And that's why I feel that replacing Tom McClintock is imperative, and I would be the person to do it.
All right, jdems.us/Roza, by the way. Yes.
So now the key, I think, is for all Democrats who want to beat the Republicans is to stick Tom McClintock to Trump, right?
Correct.
Now, there's been an effort at the top of the ticket last campaign where Hillary Clinton tried to divorce Trump from the Republican Party and say he was a special case and she wished for regular Republicans. I think that's a mistake. And do you have a plan to do that? Because Tom McClintock speaks out of both sides of his mouth when it comes to Trump. And now he's even trying to push back against the fees they're raising on Yosemite and things like
Correct.
that. So he's trying to find ways to distance himself from Trump. And do you think you'll have a hard time sticking Trump to him?
So there's one way that I've been approaching this, because in my district, yes, McClintock won with a sweeping over 62% last election, and that's been the case for the last 3 or 4 elections for him. So there are GOP members who made a Trump presidency possible, and he is definitely one of them. He is a congressional congressman who creates division, and that's what he thrives on. But because, yes, he is scared that if we stick him too close to Trump, that he will lose. And it is very true. So when I speak to the rural regions, there's a group that's called the State of Jefferson, and there's obviously the Tea Party who support him. But when we talk about what McClintock has done for them lately, they don't have an answer. And that's very fair because he's named 2 post offices and given away 1 land grant of 41 acres to one of the casinos. That's all he's ever done in 5 terms for the district.
Really?
So that's it. I know, it's surprising, but his vote is what really affects us, in DC. So when I ask them, why are you supporting this guy who really hasn't done anything for you? Sometimes I'll get the answer of, well, he supports Trump and I am supporting President Trump. But my question to a lot of these people is, I don't fault them for voting for Trump. Believe me, because I saw the 2016 election as the election of the extremes. We saw 2 groups on the left and on the right that really wanted change. And that's what I took from this election. And that's what I offer. I offer someone who's local, someone who's lived through the same experiences that the locals there have lived, someone who survived the recession, someone who's went to North Dakota to drill oil in the Bakken for research, but I ended up understanding the complexities of the people who left their hometowns to try their luck in the new Wild West. Because we have our own case of migrant workers within America. And understanding that by living in those same rig sites with these men, I understood why they looked at Trump's promises as something that he could actually do, maintain jobs, build up the economy. But Trump only cares about one person and one person only, and that's himself. And I think over time, people are really coming close to that. And I've had Republicans, I've had Tea Partiers, I've had State of Jefferson people show up to my events and apologize to me personally for voting for Trump. And things are changing.
So when you tell the Trump voter, what has Tom McClintock done for you lately, and they say nothing, do they ask you, what are you going to do for us? And what do you say?
So the question is, what are you going to do? One of the big things that I hear all the time is that they don't want to pay taxes, these high taxes. And the taxes, of course, many of the issues that they're having are state issues.
Right.
And at the federal level, there's other things that I can do. And for many of the 10 counties that are part of this district, there's no work. So when a local group did a poll for the entire district, that was an amazing sample. It almost reflected identical to the results from the 2016 election. It proved that the entire district really has more progressive ideals. So the number one issue for many people was education. They want to make sure that their kids have a good education, good quality education that's not dictated by their zip code. The second thing was that they want to make sure that the income inequality is gone, because these are people who haven't recovered from the recession. Many of the counties in my district have over 50% of the residents who are on some type of social service. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it seems to me that that if you get voter turnout, and a lot of 2018 will be about energy, that you win. And so you're talking about 50% of the district is taking some sort of social services. Those folks are not rich, right? No. And Tom McClintock and the rest of the Republicans, all they do is represent the rich. There's a story out today about the tax cuts that they're working on, right? And it's tax cuts for the rich, but it actually takes from the blue states and gives to the red states. And the New York and New Jersey Republican congressmen, not all of them, but a lot of them broke ranks with the Republican Party and said, no, you're taking too much from our state. But actually they take more from California. And every Republican in the California delegation, including McClintock, said, no, I don't care that they're taking from California and giving to the red states. I just want the tax cuts for the rich.
Correct.
So do you think that's gonna, and are you for $15 minimum wage?
Absolutely.
So how could that message not resonate? Like, you're gonna get higher wages if we win, and you deserve it. You're working hard, right?
You are working hard.
Whereas McClintock is saying, I don't care how much California suffers. I don't want you to get, he's for $7.25, right? Which is $15,000 a year. That's amazing, it's $15,000 a year. And he says, but I want the tax cuts for the rich. There's gonna be trillions of dollars for them.
And if he could pay us less, he absolutely would. That's the reality of it.
So what Tom McClintock's gonna do, though, is he's gonna tie his tax cuts to more jobs. He's gonna say, she's against tax cuts, she's against more jobs. So that's what they've been doing since the 70s. So you gotta be ready for that, because that's how they've decided, because it got to a point where they couldn't say tax cuts for the rich, and then the Democrat would say, look, he's for the rich. They go, no, tax cuts helps you get jobs. So that's their story, so just be ready for that. We know know that doesn't work. That's trickle-down economics, and that's been debunked a million times.
But what's your response to that? How do you respond to that?
Well, the reality is today, I'm not sure if you saw the press conference, but they kept talking about $11,182 over and over and over again. And I just thought, yeah, no, that's not gonna work, because what you're doing is taking away from us and giving to the rich. This is the whole Robin Hood in reverse. And McClintock can't hide behind that, because the reality is I want tax cuts. I want tax cuts for us, the people. We shouldn't be paying more than corporations. I can't believe that there are some companies, some corporations where the secretary pays more taxes than the CEO of that company.
Mitt Romney.
Exactly. So those are the type of things that we have to get away from. I think people in my district are ready for change. They want to have the type of jobs that are high-paying, well-paying jobs that actually offer some type of security. I also offer them strong unions, because we have to have a right to negotiate our salaries, to ask for a fair and just living wage so that we can raise our families. And there is no way that we can do that if every single corporation is making so much money that the rest of us can't even afford their services, or can't even afford to go to the restaurant or to their mall or buy their products. At some point, there is gonna be that imbalance where the corporations won't be able to make any money off of us anymore, because we're getting paid so little while everything else in the prices increase.
Actually, it's a great point. When you give money to the middle class and the poor, it creates a velocity of money, because they immediately put it back into the economy. Whereas the rich, even in a good case scenario, save the money and it doesn't go back into the economy. So that's part of the myth there. So last thing here, Roza, you're a Just Democrat. That means you're not taking any corporate PAC money.
Not taking any corporate PAC money.
Right. So why did you in this race decide to become a Just Democrat?
One of the big things that took me a while to decide to run, from the time that I decided, okay, I think I can do this, to the time I announced, it was about 3 months. And what really pulled me back was the fact that I'm a regular person. I can't afford to run. If I'm not working, no one is paying for my bills, period. If I don't have the connections to build up this enormous funds to run a campaign, then what am I doing it for? But what I also see is a need to address the fact that millions and millions of dollars don't win elections. We saw it happen with Hillary, and we saw it happen with Ossoff. So what I have been doing is speaking to my very, very poor district and doing a $1, one vote campaign. And I want to make sure that we can do money campaign reform, because we can't continue allowing corporations to buy our government, because that's exactly what has happened. If the Coke industry is giving me $10,000, then your $1 is worthless to someone like McClintock. So he will never ever speak for us. He's not one of us. He still doesn't live in our district, and he doesn't deserve to speak for us. Okay,
so awesome, love to hear that. Everybody, jdems.us/Roza. Roza's already done a pretty good job of fundraising, over $77,000. And look, the fundraising matters because we're not getting the big corporate money. So, and unfortunately, the press does take it as a metric of success. And so then Roza gets more press coverage if she has more money. Plus, she needs to hire staffers and to be able to run a real campaign. Correct. Even if she's not going to run really expensive TV ads, she still needs people to be able to help her. And go to justdemocrats.com overall, volunteer for all of these races, especially if you're in Roza's district.
Yes, please.
And Roza, what's your website so they can go straight to your website if they're in that
My
area?
website is electroza.org. And on there you can go to all my social media. All my social media is electroza 2018, and we are on Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And my entire campaign is being helped out by volunteers who work tirelessly and drive with me and travel with me throughout this district. So join our campaign, help us out. We need to unseat this guy.
I love it, man. Real people running for these races. Could you imagine if we win all these races, or a majority of these races? We would shake the earth. Roza, great to have you on here.
Thank you.
Good luck, go get them.
Thank you.
It would be an absolute pleasure to do election night where I announce that Tom McClintock is the former congressman from the 4th District of California.
The crowd goes wild.
All right, thank you, Roza.
Thank you.